I guess we can start yapping.
Okay.
Joe Chaffee, Fios 1 News, Long Island, and Fios 1 News, New Jersey.
And Joe Rayo, Fios 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley. And Joe, I had a professor at college, you may have even had him because we both went to the same college, who would call a storm that we're watching tonight a real stem winder of sorts, because it's really winding up as it moves up and into our area, and then eventually it's really going to wind up as it moves off to our north and east.
Romerism?
No, it's not a Romerism.
Who's it?
I think it was a Getzelman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. It is. This is going to wind up being for upstate, for elevated areas. This is good. This might, for some places in upstate New York and into westernmost New England. There's going to be there are going to be some places that are going to wind up with much more than they're forecasting, and some places that are going to wind up that think they're going to get more and they're going to wind up with a bit less.
Well, the National Weather Services, both in Albany and also in Binghamton, have issued winter weather advisories for places like Sullivan County, Ulster County, and talking about for the higher terrain areas, 2 to as much as 6 inches. I'm not sure exactly how high you have to go to get the 6, but
probably over. I would bet at least 2,000 feet,
yeah,
maybe more.
Yeah,
maybe 2,500 feet.
There are places up there that are prone to getting that sort of thing. And
well, I have the Weather Service's the snowfall forecast up here for the whole Northeast through early Saturday, and if you want it, if you don't know where the Hudson Valley is, you certainly know it by this map here, because you've got 2 areas of heavy snow separated by a north-south line of a coating to an inch or 2.
Right.
And that's the mountains versus the valleys. And this time of year, when you don't have a whole lot of cold air to deal with, except in an instance like this where you have a very strong upper air feature and strong dynamics, this is where elevation winds up playing a big role, and you don't get widespread snowfalls. You get these sort of patches where you know where all the mountains are.
And it is quite obvious on the screen now, the Catskill Mountains, and to the north the Adirondacks. They are the 2 places that are showing considerable. The Catskills look like, what, 6 or 9 inches. And the Adirondacks, I see an 11 up there.
There's a 13 and an 18 up there.
Okay.
The 18 is Whiteface Mountain, from what I've been told by Timothy Meltman, one of our regulars. And you got some 20-inch amounts up in
that's from the
parts
for the Berkshires all the way up through the Green Mountains and of Vermont.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure what that point is where that 20 is. But I can tell you where the 1 is, and that's Albany. And the 2, maybe that's might even be north of Kingston. I don't even know what town that could be.
The 20 is not too far from a place that I used to...
Oh, the 2 is Albany. I'm sorry. I just was looking a little too far.
The 20 is not too far from a place where I used to go to with the family some years ago. A place called Smuggler's Notch, which is a resort up in... and I'm trying to remember now the mountain. There was a mountain there with skiers, They have a mascot, Mogul Mouse, who's always dressed up, getting ready to ski. So they're going to be happy up there. That's good spring skiing, I guess. We are into spring now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And the radar, I just updated it here. We've got some rain going on here offshore, and that's all moving northward. The rain has been steady across New Jersey and into eastern Pennsylvania. Now, as of 9/27. Getting a break there in eastern PA. I also want to bring up, Joe, I pulled this up just not too long ago. This is the Doppler radar view storm totals down in the north and west of Washington, D.C., Baltimore. And they got 5, that red area is 5 inches plus. This thing really outperformed in terms of rainfall in areas to the south of us.
Right.
And most of that rain is moving northward, so we're not really, we're not going to see
5 inches.
5 inches, but now that we've got this stuff coming in from off the ocean that seems to be holding together, this is where we're going to grind out. Long Island, which hasn't gotten very much so far, will probably grind out their inch of rain out of this as it lifts up to the north. That looks pretty impressive.
Yeah, it does, and it's rather amazing that just maybe a few days ago we really weren't taking this into account or really making much of this, And now the storm not only is backtracked more to the west, but because of that frontal line, that upper level system coming in from the west and kind of coalescing, that was the shot of adrenaline, or the thing that has helped to boost this particular coastal system into what it is right now and what it will be in the coming days ahead.
All right, so I on my YouTube show tonight, I spent a little bit of time going back to going back and looking at the common threads of storms, these early spring storms, and when they wind up overproducing is when you have a very dynamic situation aloft, and that often results in fairly intense storms. Now,
Right.
this one is from April 1st. Actually, I'm going to go back this up. This is March 31st, 1997. So let's just back. Let me just.
Oh, the April Fool's storm. Now
Correct.
I remember. Oh my goodness!
This was the April Fool's storm that produced, quite a bit of snow.
Quite a bit. There, I think up in Yorktown Heights, for example, they had something on the order of like 14 or 16 inches, but it was not just snow, it was heavy, wet snow. This is the other end of the spectrum. Those of you may remember more recently, back in 2011, October, just a couple of days before Halloween, we had a big snowfall. The leaves were still on the trees, for God's sake. 14 inches at my house, lots of tree damage, trees coming down left and right. And that was an early snowfall, big snowfall. This could be the other side of the coin. This is after spring has officially begun.
Right.
And this was a storm.
Well, I brought this one up because not to suggest that there'd be a repeat performance down here, but in terms of what you need to see, you've got to have a fairly intense feature. You have to make up for the fact that this time of year, particularly when you're talking about the 31st, it's another 10 days from now, the average temperature is 3 degrees higher than it is now. So
absolutely.
you don't have the same magnitude of cold air coming down from Canada the way you do even just 2 weeks ago. There's a huge difference. Every week that goes by, the difference is astounding from week to week. So you kind of need the upper air to sort of go to work and make up the difference. And this is a situation where you had that, and you wind up with a very intense low here. It was a 979 low sitting east of the New Jersey coast, south of Long Island. And this was a very big snow producer certainly for the end of March, very beginning of April. That low took a while to get out of the way. It's not until we get to Tuesday morning on April 1st that it's pulled away to the northeast. But if you look closely, folks, you can see temperatures in the 20s and low 30s. That's a big, that's cold.
Yeah, it is.
That's cold for the beginning of April.
It was, and parts of Westchester were out of power. NYSEG and some of the local power agents, maybe even Con Ed. Actually, Con Ed was further south in lower Westchester. But I mean, there were places that were out of power for about a week because of the tremendous amount of snow that fell and bringing down power lines and bringing down trees. This was an amazing storm. But you brought up a good point, Joe. This is at the end of March, early April. This is a full 10 or 11 days after the vernal equinox. Whereas the storm that I mentioned, that I could remember, that hit in late October of 2011, that was at a time that was like more than a month past the equinox. The altitude of the midday sun was much, much lower. In fact, that October storm, the sun was about the same altitude, I think, during early February. So you had a much lower sun. But this is very impressive. I mean, a much higher sun.
Sure.
You wouldn't anticipate something like this late in the season. And here we had it.
Well, now I'm jumping over to the other one I looked at, which was the April 9th of 2000, and again, same kind of deal here. It was a little bit different, Joe. You had a low that looked like it was going by to our north, but it just kind of does this long stretch, and suddenly the bottom part of this becomes the main storm and intensifies right in our backyard, and then it just sort of inches its way up into New England, and this was, I think, I'm mixing the two up now. One produced 20 to 30 inch amounts. I think the first one I showed you had 20 to 30 inch amounts across northern Connecticut through Massachusetts,
right,
and the middle Hudson Valley. This was a bit tamer. It was more on the order of 6 to 12 through the Catskills, and I think the southern edge of the 6 to 12 reached down into parts of northwest New Jersey, and then there was 3 to 6 a little bit further south. But nonetheless, this was another example of what you need to get snow in the latter part of the year.
In fact, this storm kind of developed in much the same way, believe it or not, as the Great Blizzard of 1888. That storm too kind of developed on a stationary north-south weather front to the south of us, and then kind of wobbled slowly but surely northward. And we all know what that storm
right.
did. The 1888
well,
storm.
they all need this signature of a deep trough in the east and some kind of upper low that dives down and cuts off the very, very cold air aloft that kind of separates itself a bit from the main jet stream flow, and that's how you do it. This is from the March 31st storm in 1997, and when we look at the April the 9th of 2000, these archive things are so useful.
You want to talk about...
And here's another instance. I'm going to just back this up a little bit. But here again, it's the upper air is very dynamic here. There's a very sharp, negatively tilted trough, very deep, very cold air aloft. You get a very strong surface development out of it. That's how you're going to pull it off. And to compare it to what's happening now, when the map loads, I'll get to a tighter region here.
And this is rather amazing. I mean, we had a beautiful day yesterday all around the tri-state area of sunshine, temperatures in the mid-50s. We may very well have a day similar to that, if not even warmer, on Sunday, but kind of sandwiched in between these two beautiful sets of days is this system that is hitting right now that will bring, again, significant rains tonight, significant wind and colder weather for later tomorrow into Saturday, and in parts of the higher terrain areas in New England and upstate New York, a significant snowfall.
So here's how the upper air looks with this, Joe, and again, very dynamic. You actually have 3 short waves here in play. The first two here, which surprisingly enough, the models really did not do a good job earlier this week on picking up on this. And neither did this forecaster, by the way.
No, none of us did.
Right. And
we all thought this thing was going to sail out to sea, and
or at least part of it would get kicked out.
Yeah.
But it winds up that these first 2 short waves, they face together, and then there's a third short wave that comes down. That lifts this up, and that's the one that really energizes this as it lifts up into New England.
Right.
And, of course, the upper trough then swings through here Friday afternoon, and after that we're going to get into some strong winds Friday night into Saturday, probably gusts of 40 miles an hour or more in some places.
I'm surprised. The National Weather Service over in the New York National Weather Service at Upton, Long Island, specifically has mentioned more than once in their discussions over the last day or so, they don't think that there will be a need to issue any kind of a wind advisory or wind warning with what's coming tomorrow night into Saturday. And that kind of surprised me. I would have thought for sure.
What was their reasoning? I didn't get a chance to read it.
They feel it's going to fall just shy of wind advisory criteria, which
it's close. What is it? 40 miles an hour is for wind advisory, right? And 50.
I would think this is going to make easily a 40 mile per hour. I mean, sustained 20 to 25 at least, and winds gusting to over 40. But
well, let's see what happens. In the meantime, here's the NAM, by the way. Just want to, if you look up in upstate New York, as we go through the night. Now, these are the upper air dynamics at work with that upper trough swinging in. That's when you suddenly see this rain going over to that dark blue snow, and that actually expands during the day tomorrow into tomorrow night. I'm going to be curious as to how much actually accumulates, given you're seeing a lot of this during the day side, even with the elevation that's involved. But nonetheless, it continues into tomorrow night, and then it pulls away by Saturday morning. It's just about done. but you still have the tight pressure gradient here, and then of course the gradient relaxes as we go into Sunday, and then we got this next system for Monday and from Monday night into Tuesday, which frankly, Joe, I'm not really all that concerned about it at this point.
Well, for getting back for the moment, I looked at the NAM temperature parameters for tonight into tomorrow, and I honestly thought that in the immediate tri-state area, if we're going to see any wet snowflakes, and I would not be surprised if our own area saw wet snow or snow showers or flurries, but I really don't think it's going to get that chilly or chilly enough locally until sometime tomorrow evening. However, up to the north and west, during the afternoon hours, I mean I know the Albany and Binghamton weather services are pulling the whistle string and warning people tomorrow for the evening commute. Again, especially in the higher terrain areas on Friday, that there could very well be snow and sticking snow. So that's not just too far away from us to the north and west.
Hang on, Joe. Let's just pull up the SREF. It's being evil on me. Hold on.
There's just too much to look at.
Oh.
Too short a period of time.
I know. All right, so
you're looking at the plumes here?
Yes.
The plumes.
Because of this, debacle we call daylight saving time. It comes out an hour later. So, well, all right. So here's New York City, which gets point. All right, so not 0.02 in liquid, where it's 0.2 of an inch. This is 0.02 inches of snow.
200ths of an inch.
Right. So that's basically a flake count. Capixi?
Well, I know one of the future casts, I'm not sure if it's the RPM or whatever, actually gave a couple of inches to Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
But
I saw that the NAM Moss, all right, Poughkeepsie gets 0.4 of an inch.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go to Monticello. All right, so Monticello, now we're getting into numbers that matter too.
Monticello, the RPM gave 4.3 inches. But that's not Monticello, that's Wilkes-Barre, isn't it?
I know, that was Monticello that I had up with 2. I just switched to Scranton, 2.53.
Okay.
So Monticello is 2.03.
Mm-hmm.
Albany, now this is up from before because I only think it had a couple. Now it's giving Albany close to 6.
6 inches.
Right.
Our dear friend Andy Gregorio, I believe, is a forecaster on television in Saratoga Springs. We'll probably be having a lot of fun tomorrow.
Well, Utica gets 9, wow. Just north of Saratoga Springs. See, now here's where elevation is going to make a difference because it is further north, but they actually get less than Albany.
How about Rutland?
Rutland, Vermont. Oh, I have to go off these charts here. 9.5.
Woo!
That's up from before. Brattleboro, 2.28. I don't know what the one in between is. Gets 4.49.
Oh, wait a minute. Go back.
That's VSF. I don't know what that is. What do you want?
I think that might be Keene. Keene, New Hampshire. Oh, no, wait. No, Keene is over there. Sorry.
Yeah, Keene gets 1.88.
Okay.
And let's look at Western Mass near Pittsfield.
Pittsfield is elevated. They're up in the Berkshires.
Close over 8.
Okay.
And I just want to see what they gave on the prior run. Actually, that is the prior run.
Oh. Well, is 21Z available now that we're on daylight time, or
it's supposed to be? Oh, I just switched it over to 21Z. Okay, 9.15. So it actually gives them a bit more. All right, let me double check Albany again. And they're not in. This is what I love when, see, at least if we had it the old way, if it was standard time, this would have already been out for an hour.
Right.
And I wouldn't have to be playing around trying to find.
Very quickly, and we still have some time.
Binghamton.
I've been hearing people say in various states that they're pushing for year-round daylight saving time. It is not going to be good when that happens. Believe me. And in fact,
it's not. Especially in the winter, if you want your kids to go to school
in the dark,
and it's dark till 8:30.
They thought this was a great idea during the quote-unquote energy crisis in the early 70s, 1974, and within 2 years they repealed it because parents were upset about the fact that kids were going to school in the dark. They didn't like that. So why don't you just leave it alone? Don't go on daylight saving time. Let's go on regular standard time. And then, of course, you hear people screaming about the fact, oh, in June, the sun is rising at 4:30 in the morning.
I know.
Who cares?
Timothy Veltman, who's up near Albany, he says, there is snow accumulating up north in and around Speculator, Shroon Lake, Lake Desolation.
I love that.
Hamilton, Warren, Essex, Saratoga, and Herkimer counties are all seeing snow in spots right now. So that might be a sign if you're starting to see snow early on. Models are, turning it to snow later on tonight. If it's already doing it, that probably is a hint that perhaps in those areas you're going to wind up seeing outperformance.
Yeah.
Frank La Salandra up in Killington had elevation as 2,000 to over 4,000, and they have winter storm warnings up for 6 to 12 up there, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
And Daniel Kirby in the Blue Ridge in northwestern Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Now he's up, I think, at like 20. I want to say 2,800 feet. I may be mixing you up with someone else, but I know you're up there on elevation. He had 8 inches of snow.
Wow!
It's amazing how much snow fell down on the western end of this.
Yeah.
But he's getting that upper low coming around, that short wave, and that cold air aloft, and the good dynamics, and it paid off.
I was going to mention this just a few minutes ago, October 4th, 1987. Now, you want to talk about an early snowstorm. I know that in parts of the Berkshires, 20 inches of snow with that storm, October of 1987.
That's just crazy to see it that early.
And the storm that we had in 1977, I think it was on May the 9th, the latest that snow had ever been seen in Central Park at the Mohonk Mountain House. So some of you may have heard of this place. If you want to have a room up there,
I've heard it.
$600 a night.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very ritzy place, old Victorian mansion just to the west of New Paltz. They have a weather station, a cooperative weather station, Joe. Continuous weather observations there since 1894.
That's amazing.
And I visited up there some years ago and did a report on that. May the 9th, 1977, they had something like 12 to 18 inches of snow.
That's crazy. I can't even relate to that.
And that's not even 2,000 feet. Skytop Mountain is like nearby, 1,200 and some odd feet. And the mountain house where the weather station was, 12 inches plus of snow on the 9th of May in 1977.
Nuts. All right, we got to go. If you haven't already, by the way, go to Google Play or go to the App Store and download my free weather app. Just search Meteorologist Joe Chaffee on either platform and download it to your mobile device, and you'll find all sorts of stuff, including snow maps going all the way up to Maine and all the way down to Georgia. And I've got rainfall maps, the rainfall forecast maps, severe weather risk maps, and plus my outlook. So again, if you haven't done that already, Google Play or the App Store, it's free. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee.
And the very lovely Mrs. Rayo is very impressed because when she wakes up in the morning and
she gets her notification,
opens up her iPad, and there you are.
I can't send direct notifications to specific people, but I just had a thought in my mind to send a notification that when she reads it, she'll clearly know it's directed to both of you.
Yes. While her lazy husband is still probably snoozing away in bed.
Well, we'll take care of that.
I'm sure you will.
All right. So don't forget, folks, Joe and I still have work to do. So I will be on at the top of the hour at FiOS 1 News Long Island and FiOS 1 News New Jersey.
And I will be at FiOS 1 Lower Hudson Valley. I will not be here tomorrow.
No. But Brian Fitzgerald will be here in the morning to carry you through the morning commute, which might still be problematic. And Addison Green and Brittany Borer will be here midday. I will be by myself tomorrow in just complete loneliness.
Well, it's the first day off I've taken since mid-January.
The tears will be flowing just almost continuously from...
Before we leave, let me just quickly say also for the Lower Hudson Valley, there's a coastal flood advisory for the Sound Shore of southern Westchester for tides that may run higher than normal at the time of local high tide from about 11 o'clock tonight to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Good reminder, too. For New Jersey, Monmouth and Middlesex counties under a coastal flood warning. The counties surrounding New York Harbor on the Jersey side, also coastal Jersey from Ocean County south, and for Long Island, South and North Shore, there are coastal flood advisories up for some minor to possibly some borderline moderate coastal flooding in that warning area in Middlesex County and in Monmouth County in New Jersey. So we'll see you at the top of the hour on FiOS 1 News. Otherwise, I will see about tomorrow, because when I'm by myself, sometimes by the time 9:25 rolls around, especially on a Friday night,
yes,
I'm cooked.
Yes,
but if the weather's active, I'll jump up, and I'll have my YouTube live stream tomorrow night at 7:30, so you can find it there.
Yes.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Say good night, Joe.
Good night, Joe.